will turn it over. We're introducing the bipartisan October 7th Remembrance Education Act today, which will direct the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum to build a model curriculum for schools to teach about the heinous and brutal acts committed on October 7th, about the history of anti-Semitism and how it played a role in the attacks, and about denial and distortion as a form of anti-Semitism in the wake of such attacks. There is so much mis and disinformation out there driving the rise of anti-Semitic hate, from pro-Hamas content on social media to biased anti-Israel reports. This bipartisan legislation will be critical to teaching our children the truth about the tragic events of October 7th. Hamas is to blame for October 7th, not Israel. And to all of the critics and naysayers who haven't missed a chance to scream, yell, and slam Israel, I say to them, where are your voices today? Where are your voices for peace? You must push Hamas to take the deal that Israel has already accepted and that the Arab states and the U.S. support. It will free all of the hostages and force Hamas to lay down their arms. If we work together and bring all the hostages home and ensure Hamas terrorists have no future in Gaza, and that critical aid reaches the hands of Gazans, not the terrorists, then I know here in the greatest country in the world, working together with others, our best days will always be ahead. Hate will lose, righteousness will win. Thank you, God bless you, and now I'm so honored to turn it over to Ilana Grozewski, a freed hostage and partner of current hostage Matan. Thank you so much.
My name is Ilana Grozewski. I am both citizens, Mexican and Israeli. I made Aliyah 16 years ago alone, and on October 7, my life was brutally taken. That day, Hamas kidnapped me and my partner Matan Sangauker. We tried to escape through the window of our safe room to survive, running in different directions. From that moment, I lost all contact with Matan. I hung behind a closet with a blanket, but it was in vain. The terrorists found me. I was beaten, murdered, and taken to Asa on a motorcycle with sexual abuse. For 55 days, I was held in captivity, living in fear, hunger, and deprived of all basic human grace. No fresh air, no sunlight, no showers, barely any food or water. I lost 24 pounds. I lost my hearing in my left ear. My hip was broken, my leg was burned, my jaw was dislocated, and they took my soul. Today am I free, but Matan and 47 hostages is still held by Hamas. In order for me to heal, in order for all the released hostages to heal, only when all the hostages are home will we be able to begin healing what has been broken. I am a testimony that bringing them home is possible. We won't let them wait any longer. They have no time. We must continue all the efforts to get them back with a deal. People in Israel want this war to end. I am here not just for myself, but for every woman and man who didn't make it home, for every voice which was ignored, for 48 hostages still in Gaza, for their families, for our soldiers. This is not about Israel. This is about humanity, about human rights, about the world. They killed, raped, and kidnapped babies, women, the already innocent people who were simply enjoying a party or the safety of their home. What happened to us could happen to anyone, anywhere. Terrorism, Hamas, does not respect borders or life. On 9/11, the world witnessed the horror of terrorism. And today, 7/10, Israel is facing its own 9/11. If we don't do nothing, tomorrow it could be another country. The people of the world, do not stay silent. This is not just Israel. It's a fight for all of us. Let's stand together for freedom and justice. I ask to all the world leaderships, please do not let this chance to free the hostage slip away. Every second matters. Matan and 47 hostages are waiting for help, waiting to come home. Today is Israel, but tomorrow it could be any country. Please stand with us in this fight for freedom and justice before it's too late. The people of Israel want to see the hostage home and end to the war. Matan, I'm here every moment, every thought. I'm here fighting for you, breathing for you, holding on to the hope that maybe in the darkness you can feel me. Matan, stay strong. Don't lose hope. Your mom, sister, our dog Nuni, and I are all waiting and fighting for you. Thank you.
That's beautiful. That's really good. Thank you so much. Next up, to share his words is the great Congressman from Maryland, Steny Hoyer.
Alana, thank you. Today, Israel, who knows who it will be tomorrow? None of us. Orna and Rona Nutra, Representative Gottheimer, thank you very much for leading on the legislation which will ensure that this day of infamy will live in the minds as well as the hearts of all Americans. Meredith Jacobs, thank you for your leadership. Ted Deutsch, our former colleague and my former partner in making sure that the message of peace in the Middle East, peace for the Israeli people, peace for the Arab community is what our objective is. Over the past 2 years, I have visited the site of the Nova Music Festival massacre twice. I have welcomed hostages home after their release. I have mourned with the families of those who did not survive their captivity. I have met with Jews in America, Israel, and beyond, who fear for their safety amid a severe spike of anti-Semitism. How can anti-Semitism be spiked against the victims? In the United Kingdom, just days ago, we saw that anti-Semitic hate led to the murder of Jews while they were worshiping on the holiest day of their year. 2 years have not dulled the pain or the trauma that Hamas unleashed on October 7th. That Hamas unleashed on October 7th. That Hamas unleashed on October 7th. 254 people, including 12 Americans, taken hostage, and 1,200 plus lost their lives. Countless more were traumatized by the horror of that day. I've spoken to people who were there on the ground in the kibbutz that day. That trauma has grown with every hostage executed, every missile launched, and every day this war has been drawn out by Hamas. This war did not start on our terms, but we must ensure that it ends on our terms. That means securing the return of all 48 hostages, living and dead, still held captive in Gaza, including those who tragically did not survive. Among them are the remains of 2 Americans, Omer Nutra and Itai Chin. I am grateful that Omer's parents, Orna and Ronan, are here with us today. I've also become good friends of the Hens, Itay's parents, Ruby and Hagit, who are waiting to sit Shiva for their son for whom they grieved in his life, not knowing that he had been killed on the day of the attack, on this day 2 years ago. Crucially, we must end Hamas's brutal rule over Gaza to ensure that October 7th never happens again. Hamas crimes on October 7th tragically have also led to the deaths, injury, and displacement of thousands of Palestinians as well. Hamas has their blood on their hands. We need to come together on a plan to surge aid to innocent civilians in Gaza who have suffered throughout this war. The current peace proposal provides a pathway to achieving these objectives. Hamas must accept it, and they must surrender, and they must give up their arms. They must not be a continuing threat to Israel or to the Palestinian people. We need our Arab partners to make them do that. Today, I pray we can make progress toward a just and lasting peace. A peace that Israel has sought every day from 1948 to today. A lasting peace that benefits both Israelis and Palestinians and the region. I pray, I demand that the 48 hostages be released. It's always right to do the right thing. Right now, those hostages ought to be released on this day. Critically, I pray for all those we lost on October 7th and the 732 days since. May their memories be a blessing. May we keep the faith with humanity and with all the world and Israel.
Thank you, Steny. That's fantastic. Now I'd like to call Yasmin up, who's the cousin of current American hostage, Omar Nutra. Yasmin, thank you so much.
My name is Yasmin, and I will be speaking on behalf of Omar's parents, Orna and Ronan Nutra. 2 years have passed since October 7th. 2 years since our son, my cousin, Captain Omer Maxim Nutra, was taken by Hamas. 2 years since terror once again showed the world what happens when hatred goes unchecked. Omer was born in New York City 1 month after 9/11. We were spared then, but almost 22 years later, he became a victim of that same ideology of hate. The same terror that, when left unchallenged, rises again and again in Israel, in Europe, in America, everywhere innocent people live freely and proudly. Omer grew up in New York, a proud American, deeply connected to his heritage, and the grandson of Holocaust survivors who came to Israel as children post-World War II, built their lives and the country. Omer was a natural leader, captain of his high school sports teams, regional youth group president, a young man full of light, conviction, and compassion. After deferring his college education in favor of a gap year in Israel, together with Israeli peers and family, Omer made a bold, selfless decision to join the IDF. Guided by his family's history, his morals, and his instinct to protect. On October 7th, 2023, while commanding a small post near the Gaza border called the White House, He and his crew rushed towards danger to defend civilians. Their tank was ambushed, hit by an RPG and other explosives. Their driver killed immediately. The rest of the team, suffocating, was removed from the tank. For 421 days, it was thought that Omer was taken into Gaza alive. On December 1st, 2024, 14 months later, the IDF confirmed he has been killed the same day, after being dragged into the tunnels and not receiving the medical attention he needed. Since October 7th, 2023, our lives, like so many others, have changed forever. We put aside our business and dedicated ourselves full-time to advocating for Omer and the release of the hostages. We've traveled to Israel more than 10 times, to Washington, D.C. over 40 times, and we've spoken from the largest stages, including the Republican National Convention. Our message has never changed. Keep the hostage issue bipartisan, humanitarian, and urgent, because this is not about politics, it is about life. Today, 2 years later, we sense a shift for the first time. There is a real alignment. Recognition that moral center of the war is not territory or politics, but the fate of the hostages. We have seen bold leadership in recent days, willing to act with clarity, urgency, and strength. President Trump has demonstrated that kind of courage, understanding that resolving the hostage crisis is not just a humanitarian necessity, but the key to stability and peace. We need the same moral clarity from all leaders around the world, because peace cannot begin until the hostages come home. For us personally, there will be no happy ending, but there can be closure, and there can be healing. Our advocacy may quiet, but our promise will not fade. We will speak Omer's name for the rest of our lives. His light, his laughter, and his leadership will continue to guide us wherever we go and whatever we do.
Joining us next from the American Jewish Committee and a former congressman and very dear friend, not just of the Jewish people in the fight against anti-Semitism, but of Steny and me and so many here in Washington, Ted Deutsch.
Congressman Gottheimer, thank you very much for convening this very timely, very important event. To you and to Steny, and sorry, to you and Congressman Hoyer. So it's hard to get over. I want to thank the two of you and your other colleagues who have introduced these three pieces of legislation to honor and remember the victims and to recall what actually happened on October 7th and recommitting to stamp out the hate that we've all witnessed since that terrible day. I also, to my congressional friends, want to extend deep appreciation in a world swimming in moral confusion. I want to extend our deep gratitude for the moral clarity with which you have consistently approached the events of October 7th, the need to speak up, the need to be clear about what happened, and the need for us to always remember. We're grateful, so grateful to you both. I also want to extend gratitude to Yasmin and Alana for standing here alongside us today. Words really can't express the depth of sorrow that we feel as we mark 2 years. 2 years, we've been going day after day. It's 100 days, 500 days. We're now at the point where we are measuring the number of days that there are 48 hostages now by years. And you're joining us today and you're reminding us the importance of bringing every one of the 48 hostages home is so critical. We recall the 1,200 men, women, and children, including 46 Americans and citizens of more than 40 countries who were slaughtered that day, and the countless peace activists working for coexistence who were included among those killed. On that day, Hamas used sexual assault as a weapon of war. They took over 250 hostages, including Ilana, into their terror tunnels. Now, on the second anniversary of these attacks, we remember the lives that were cut short and those indelibly altered by what happened on that day. The brutality of that day was not just an assault against Israel. It was an assault against humanity itself. And since October 7th, we've also seen relentless attacks against Israel's very right to exist. We've seen a terrifying surge in anti-Semitism. And in this upside-down world that we live in, Hamas is so often praised while its hostage-taking atrocities and war crimes are ignored. Today is a reminder that we need to reset the truth. Words matter and leadership matters. And when public figures slander Israel or normalize calls for violence, chants of globalized the Intifada, when there is open praise for Hamas, then they help to create the conditions for violence from Washington to Boulder to Manchester. Leaders have to do more than avoid hateful rhetoric. They have to condemn it unequivocally. That's why I'm proud to be standing here with these members of Congress who understand the life or death consequences that come with the words that we choose, whether in a press conference or on social media. So as we mark this solemn anniversary, we also recommit ourselves to the tireless efforts to bring every one of the 48 remaining hostages home. Over the past week, that goal feels that it has come even closer as we sit at the precipice of a potentially historic moment in the Middle East that will bring the hostages home and that will end the war. President Trump's peace plan has the backing of Arab and Muslim majority countries from the UAE and Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Pakistan, Indonesia, allies like UK and France in Europe, and of course Israel too has agreed. You've heard already, I'll say it again, Israel didn't start this war, they didn't choose this. They cannot unilaterally lay down their arms. Those who truly support an end to this war need to pressure Hamas to accept this plan. They need to exert maximum pressure on Hamas so that the hostages can come home and the war can finally end. In honor of those who were lost, those who remain in captivity, and those who have returned, the global Jewish community stands proudly and boldly together with you. We stand with Israel over Hamas, with democracy over terrorism, and we stand for life over death. Together we envision a brighter and more peaceful future for all, for Israel and for the Palestinians, for the region and for the world. And together, if we can pressure Hamas to accept this deal, and the hostages can come home, and the war can end, we can build that secure, peaceful future for everyone. Thanks.
Another phenomenal leader in the cause from Jewish Women's International, Meredith Jacobs, and her team who are here and have done so much to pave a way toward peace. Thank you so much, Meredith.
Thank you all. I remember October 2022. I was standing in the White House for the first ever reception for the high holidays. Itzhak Perlman, world-renowned violinist, entered the room and began to play Avinu Malkeinu, a supplication for mercy and forgiveness. I remember how almost spontaneously, with a whisper and then growing in volume and strength, our voices added to the violin, praying Avinu Malkeinu. I remember looking around the room and saying to myself, don't forget this moment. Don't take it for granted that I, as a Jewish woman, am standing in the White House, surrounded by my Jewish community, and praying Avinu Malkeinu. But here's the thing. I did take it for granted. October 2022 I was secure in my place in the world, secure in my safety and acceptance. A year later, October 2023, that sense of belonging and safety was shattered. I remember listening with horrors to the whispers of sexual atrocities committed by Hamas. I remember watching with horror the video of young Israeli girls, young IDF soldiers who were grabbed from their beds and pushed bloodied into trucks bound for Gaza. I remember seeing with horror the photo of a young woman naked and bound, surrounded by terrorists, raising guns in victory. And I remember sitting with horror in the silence of the world and in the silence of other feminist organizations. And I remember what came after the silence: the effective, malicious campaign of disinformation and denial. For my organization, Jewish Women International, and others like us who work to end violence against women and girls, we are guided by three fundamentals. Survivors are believed, victims are never blamed, and rape is never justified. And yet, when it came to Israeli women, those who were supposed to stand with us delegitimized the evidence, dehumanized Israeli bodies, and applied a double standard when responding to the rapes and mutilation of Israeli women. Delegitimization, dehumanization, double standard, the definition of anti-Semitism. Avinu Malkeinu, in the face of evil, we did not beat our breasts and pray. Instead, when the world abandoned us, we galvanized a global movement. When the world sought to silence survivors and witnesses, we amplified their voices. When the world denied the most documented atrocity in history, we lifted the truth. And when the world was silent, we said loudly and unequivocally, I believe Israeli women. Since October 7th, 2023, I have had the distinct honor as CEO of Jewish Women International and the co-founder of the I Believe Israeli Women global movement to know some of the most extraordinary Israeli women, survivors like Alana, who testify again and again in the face of hate, therapists who heal the traumatized, advocates who fight tirelessly for justice and accountability. It is their strength, their resilience that I now look. Israeli women as heroes. That moment 3 years ago, praying Avinu Malkeinu in the White House, was a lifetime ago. That sense of safety and belonging I had as a Jewish woman in the world, now childish naivete. But as I look around at this gathering, standing in the shadow of the Capitol, surrounded by Jewish leaders of our community and our country, standing with allies, this is a moment I won't take for granted. For now I know just how fragile it is. Am Yisrael Chai. Bring them home now. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for us? Jonathan?
Jonathan Salant, Jewish News Syndicate. Something a few of the speakers talked about, and that's the rise in anti-Semitism, the attacks on Jews since October 7th. How do you respond now? You may have peace soon, but how do you get back to, I guess, when I was speaking to the Jewish woman, said, the proudest thing, Avinu Malkeinu in the White House, the Jewish gathering. How do you get back to that part, especially in this country, with the Jewish community?
I don't know. I don't know how we get back. Things that I would have thought were conspiracy theories on October 6th, I'm now frighteningly aware of. I think it's all the work that all of the advocates have been doing to lift the truth, to raise the humanity of Israelis and of Jews. I look to those young people who now realize how fragile their Jewishness is and who are now deeply connect to it and how meaningful it is to them. And I think we build with those who stand with us and hope that the voices grow louder.
Let me say something as a non-Jew. Anti-Semitism has been around for millennia, thousands of years. Israel exists because of anti-Semitism, of course, culminating in the Holocaust. But Jews have been driven from every place in which they lived and ghettoized in almost every place they lived. How do we get rid of it? Each of us individually must stand up and speak out. My friend John Lewis, I have a picture of him in the front of my office. So if you see something that's not right, not fair, not just, you need to stand up. You need to speak up. You need to speak out. You need to take action. Anti-Semitism or any other anti-human being's individual dignity needs to be the responsibility of us all. And I would say to the young people of this country, do not fall into the trap of believing misinformation. Focus on who attacked whom, who abused whom. America responded to the Japanese at Pearl Harbor. We responded to Hitler's actions in Europe. It was a very tough war. Hundreds of thousands, indeed millions, of lives were lost. We thought, perhaps, that we may have, as mankind, learned a lesson of the costs of hate, the cost of bigotry, the cost of prejudice. I hope the young people of America take the lesson caused by hate and prejudice and bigotry that led to October 7th. By an organization said that our objective is to kill Jews and eliminate Israel. It will be the responsibility of all of us to meet this scourge, which will perhaps be first directed at someone whom we are not. But as you said, all the world will be at risk.
Any other questions? Yeah, could you invite more House members to be out here today? Would you like to see more stronger showing of support for these measures?
There's been unbelievable support. Many people have co-sponsored these bills. As you probably know, the House is not formally in session today. So most members are in their districts, not here. There'd be scores more if we were in session. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So you're asking if by the president's proposed peace plan? I mean, I think the overall objective was what I'm focused on, which is finding peace, obviously ensuring that the hostages are freed, including the American hostages, doing everything we can to get aid into the region, but also to ensure that Hamas is not only lay down their arms, but is no longer in charge. And that there's a new governing body there. And so I think, and as part of that, of course, as you know, as part of that effort, Israel will pull back to the borders. I think the objectives are clear. I think Israel has accepted them. The president is behind them. Many of us are supportive of that objective. Now it's up to Hamas to actually accept the plan and why we wait for them to actually answer, because everyone else has said yes to move toward peace, and it's time for Hamas to answer.
Can I just quickly respond? I want to just come full. The question about where we are today. Thank you very much. Just 1 second.
Sorry, we paused for station identification.
I just want to note the parallels between where we are today and where we were 2 years ago, in a way that hasn't gotten enough attention. The protests that took place almost immediately after October 7th in some cities around the country, people who were marching not to be critical of anything that Israel had done to defend itself, because Israel hadn't done anything yet to defend itself. The people who took to the streets then they took to the streets to support Hamas and what it had perpetrated against Israel. It's 2 years later, and while there are so many gatherings, somber gatherings around the country and around the world to mark this occasion of what happened when Hamas invaded and slaughtered 1,200 people and took 250 hostages, there are also, just as there were 2 years ago, there are some marches taking place around the world of people the same people who were not interested in peace 2 years ago when they supported Hamas, and if they were serious about peace now, they would be marching to force Hamas to accept the terms of this deal. This is a moment when all of the people who claim to support peace have to be held accountable. When you bring together as many countries from around the world, including leading Arab and Muslim countries, to support a plan, then that's the plan that needs to go forward. And when it does, those remaining on the outside, those continuing to march for Hamas, will be marching only in support of terror, and the rest of us will be back in with full clarity about how we need to go forward together to make peace.
I'd just say it briefly. My view is the majority of the House on both sides of the aisle believe this is a positive step forward. And in the event, and of course Hamas has the key here, because Hamas not only has to agree that it will no longer be a leader in Gaza, and it will not be able to perpetrate violence and must disarm. And until they do so, that will be the problem. But I think the overwhelming majority of members on both sides of the aisle support the effort that's being made.
And thank you guys very, very much. Take care.